What's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about the new Suez update, which is currently only available for CTE testing. On March 11th, DICE announced some changes to the infamous map. Some people absolutely detest its very existence. Some people actually thoroughly enjoy it. More specifically, changes were implemented for Conquest. So like I said previously, it is only available on CTE right now, so if you have access to it, jump on, play a few matches, see how it plays out. And DICE specifically wanted it tested on CTE to test for any bugs so that they can fix those, and to test for general game flow and balance concerns as part of these new changes on the map. So I thought it would be interesting to talk to you about the changes, talk to you about what they've actually done if you don't care to or can't play on CTE servers to test it out for yourself, and of course give you my thoughts on them, whether I think they're good, whether I think they're bad, and talk about ebb and flow processes that I've encountered at least in my 10 to 15 matches that I've played on it so far. So yes, smaller than I'd like sample size to arrive at any sort of definitive conclusions, but I do think general patterns have arisen in that particular sample set, and I think I can share those with you guys, good or bad. So let's get into it. First of all, DICE said they were going to tweak some of the locations of the flags. They extended C flag's capture zone, so that way the train tracks, so now that the train behemoth can have more of an impact on the game, especially and more specifically being able to take C flag that allows sort of that middle ground flag to become more accessible and maybe change the ebb and flow of a map, especially if you arrive at a stalemate, or especially if a team gets off to a really bad start and they need one specific flag to sort of bust past that barrier and try and get themselves back into the contest. And C is that flag. That's the one they intended it for the behemoth to have an impact. Lastly, they added a new flag. It's F flag. It's specifically titled Road on the other side of the sand dune to where D flag, on the other side of the sand dune where D flag village is. For reference and clarity, before I discuss concerns, E flag is on the Ottoman side, and the British side is where A flag is. Also of note too, DICE added some DirectX 12 improvements, so those specifically playing on PC, and if you're actually capable of playing and using DirectX 12, let me know what you think. Let me know if you actually have seen FPS improvements and those specific changes. Now, like I said, I played about 10 to 15 matches on the gameplay, and like I said, not a huge specific sample size, but I wanted to share my thoughts on the general patterns I've seen and how they regularly evolve as you play. So, and if you played it, let me know in the comment section what you think, whether you think they're good, bad, whether you agree or disagree with any of the conclusions that I've arisen and I'm talking to you about today. So, the good, there's not a lot of good. The good, adding F flag is sort of the hot source of good and bad. The good to me is I think it at least helps to break stalemates when both teams sort of have their two gimme flags and they're fighting over that centralized flag to try and really break the game open. Relocating F, or adding the F flag, which is basically just pushing it down from where that previous middle flag was, really helps to try and break stalemates. The concern though I've arisen, or that I've arrived at basically, is that those 10 to 15 maps, it doesn't really happen all that much where you're fighting for F. It's that one team gets it, and then once that one team gets it, it's nearly impossible to take it back for a long stretch. Your team might make a nice push, take that flag back, and then because there's little to no cover on it, which is a point I'll address in a second, there's next to no way to keep it or get it back once you lose it. Next one is, I like the C flag shift, though to be honest, for me, it's not nearly far enough from the battle lines as I would have liked. I'd like it almost pushed closer to the tracks and have some cover added so that way you can make a good push further away from the map. And I'm going to talk about these points on a more detailed explanation in a second in the bad section. So let's get to the bad. The map to me is still extremely linear. Follow a straight line from base to base and you'll more than likely encounter the capture zones of most of the flags. The entire map itself is basically just a giant rectangle with the flags sort of being just off center above if you're looking at that top-down view. And it's a bit of an issue because a large part of the map doesn't really have any use. So the area out by the train tracks or the high dunes on the opposite side of the map from the tracks, they don't have any definitive use. The issue with this is that it doesn't serve to offer natural flanking opportunities. And what I mean by this is when you go to a new flag away from the regular grouped up flag encounters and you capture it, when you're returning to the main hot areas of the map and attempting to take a new flag, oftentimes enemies who are engaging a fight in front of them won't expect you flanking them from the side, and that makes your job a lot easier to take them out and then go and capture that flag and perhaps change the ebb and flow of the battle. I don't find these natural flanking opportunities just through traversing across the map to be a regular encounter in this map design. They're just not natural. It just doesn't play out that way most of the time. With little cover and the linear map designs, like I said, it just doesn't happen. When you have no flanking flags where you're going out of your way to enter a new section of the map and little cover, an intelligent enemy can see you flanking from the other side of the map and either go to try and kill you quick or spot you, and then someone else on the other team or someone else on that team can go and take you out. And this is especially true if you get off to a bad start and you're trying to leave your two flags closest toward the base, especially if you're on the British side. If you go to the very far right or the very far left of the map, there's little to no cover to try and go and, say, backcap the other team's flag. They know you're leaving on a horse, in a vehicle, what have you, even if you tried to go on foot, and they just quickly take you out. So there's no natural flanks, and that's an issue with the linearity of the map, if that's a word. F flag has little to no cover besides this stone wall. That's the new flag. It gets blown up relatively early in the match, and then there's no cover at all. If you're trying to take it with infantry, any vehicle that comes by later laughs before obliterating you off the face of the earth, and you can't hide or counterattack this way. Not to mention enemy teams charging over the dune, and at worst case, also having enemies shoot at you from the buildings in B flag means that you can be attacked while trying to take F flag from 360 degrees of potential encounters. If you don't have an entire team rush it after it's been taken, good luck getting it back. And even if you do by brute force, you'll probably have lost other flags in the intended group effort that it would take just to try and take that one flag back. Additionally, the Ottomans, at least in my encounter, split up on start. They get E, they rush D and F, and they contest for B and C before the Brits can even get near F. F is almost always contested before the Brits can get there, and then they don't have a dune to keep them covered like the Ottomans do. As a result, I found that playing on the Ottoman side means you're usually favored to win if your team gets F quick. If you get F quick on the Ottoman side, I found that it's nearly impossible to lose unless your team is full of complete incompetence, which is quite prevalent in pubs, but just to point that logistically out, that is a bit of a concern. I've seen plenty of people suggesting the map is 100% Ottoman-sided, and while I do agree, like I just said, that I do believe the map design is naturally favored for Ottomans to have the advantage, I don't believe it's clearly as impossible as a lot of people think that it is for the Brits to win. I've won a few matches myself as the British side, but the only reason we won, like I said, is we made a huge push for that C and F flag area right from the start, and if you don't grab and keep those off the start, you lose automatically. It's a concern that mostly that the Brits have to make a push for F quickly, or it's going to be next to impossible for them to get it back without a competent team. And again, I raised competent team as a concern because I doubt most teams in a public lobby will know to do this or care about doing this. Next, even if you're losing and you get the behemoth, for the most part I find it largely useless. Even with the ability to capture C from far away now, it has little to no impact on D or E flag and can be targeted and killed or at least pushed into retreat quickly. So it also takes several people out of the game if you're in the behemoth that can not only be going around killing enemies but capturing flags. So it usually just skews the map power in greater favor of the team that's already winning to begin with. The behemoth going in a straight line on the far side of the map basically doesn't really do much. I know DICE said that they're not going to change the tracks and the locations of the tracks, which is a bit of a shame because I feel where the behemoth is now, it doesn't really do an awful lot for the game. It's largely useless. So lastly, any potential fixes, and again, I'll put these in with a disclaimer and a grain of salt. Of course, give your input on it, whether you agree or disagree. I'm fully up for discussion. DICE, for the most part, says they're not going to rearrange villages or add new big areas of cover, nor are they going to rearrange the train shacks. But unfortunately for me, I think that's exactly what needs to happen to really fix balance concerns for this map. This map to me just never ends well in my experiences. I either win huge or I lose huge, or I'll start 400 to 100 down and I'm basically just waiting in my base sniping for the match to end. Because like I said previously, there's no real way to flank around without getting spotted or killed by an enemy team. I think they should add a few new buildings or just relocate flags entirely so they aren't as linear and they're a bit spread out, so that'll open up more natural flanking opportunities and promote pushing for flags that appear to be relatively unguarded to sort of break those stalemates. The next part, I think putting C flag in the buildings for cover was a good idea, but I think they should put C flag backs to nearly where the tracks are, and they should relocate F flag further away from the main area of battle and too close to the dunes. Push it further back away from that primary center dune. And like I said, it'll spread out the player base and open up natural flanks as opposed to brute force flanking that you see in sort of pushing through enemy lines that are all congealed up in one general area. In doing so, yes, distance will become an issue because most lazy players would not want to go for those far ahead flags, but maybe adding dirt bikes or more horses or some sort of quicker travel will encourage further flanking. Next, I think the map would need a full redesign from people with a lot more time and desire to put in the effort and the time to really fix up a video game map. But to me, it doesn't feel very balanced even with these changes. I can't say for either team that I've ever seen this map finish closer than 200 points. It just doesn't happen. You don't have those fight to the last minute style matches, at least in my experiences. In short, I'd like to see the non-village flags spread out quite a bit more and maybe introduce some cover to them so that way people trying to flank and take the cover don't have to worry about being attacked from 360 degrees potential worth of targeted fire on them. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you'd agree, disagree, toss them below, and we'll try and generate a discussion on a video game map, which always seems a little bit silly to me. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share if you'd like to spread the word with other people, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Have a good one, YouTube.